want to do a video. This one is going to be basically on the issue of it's going to be about people who are white, basically, who are raised around a lot of black people. Um, People call them certain names, and I don't like to call them those names. So that's why I'm kind of like looking for words to use other than the specific word people use. Use a word that starts with a W, ends with an R, or different words like that. I don't use those words because one, the things that they associate with blackness basically are incorrect in my opinion. They're not actually real. What is going on is just that those people are basically associated with um they're associated with certain stereotypes for being black, you know what I mean? And then they say because white people fit into those stereotypes, therefore they are acting like them, which is not true because it's not something that's specifically a black um, feature or characteristic. It's just some black people have these certain characteristics, and then they apply that to white people who also act that way, which is not true. It's just some people act that way. Um, so anyway, I wanted to kind of like talk about some things when we talk about swirling and divestors, things like that. It's like people always talk about people who are white and, act a certain way around a lot of black people where they grew up around a lot of black people of a certain behavior, and they picked up maybe some of the um, ideology, behavior. Maybe they had that naturally, maybe that's why they fit in with those type of black people. Um, and from my experience with those people, it's weird to me. People always say like that people sometimes complain about how some divested and swirlers, especially swirlers, will be attracted to white women and white men of this um, type of person or behavior. My problem is this: people who act that way, um, it's like I don't really one feel I can relate to them. But more than that, it's not just that I can't relate with them. There's always a problem because it always seems like those type of people, honestly, to me, seem racist. Okay, they do. Because they always are coming up with the idea that, oh, I was raised around all these black people, they act all this such and such way, and they expect you to act a certain way. They expect to interact with you a certain way. They expect you to like certain things that they associate with black people. And it's like, from my perspective, I'm offended by that because one, you're stereotyping black people. Two, um, you're basically, a bit racist because you think all black people act a certain way just because the black people you were raised around and you grew up with and you found, commonality with, acted that way. And it's like, from my perspective, it's like, I have nothing in common with you when it has to do with that because it's like, you are thinking of black people in a way that I don't think of black people. I don't think black people like this, black people act like that, black people talk like this or whatever. I kind of see it as this, like black people, are American people and we are influenced by the culture that we were around and that is basically around us pertaining to mostly the specific uh, region we come from. So, for example, if someone's Midwestern, someone's Southern, someone's Northeastern, things of that nature, we have specific cultures that have to do with our environment, not to do with our skin tone, which is like weird to me when people think it has to do with skin tone. So, I don't know. It's just like I don't really appreciate those type of people because of that. And thirdly, a major problem tends to be that they will get upset when you're not a part of the stereotype. One, they feel offended by it. Two, then they feel like they're in a position that they feel uncomfortable about. Sometimes among people like that, in environments where, black people were around them all the time, many of the time, when you look at how black people of that caliber act towards white people of that caliber, they always take a more subservient role, honestly. And I don't mean like they're their servants or anything. I don't mean anything crazy like that. I just mean they are they just respond differently towards them. I think they get used to being treated differently, but also being treated the same as a lot of black people of that caliber. You know, basically, with people like myself, it's almost like because I act not like them, it's almost like I find it's more of the same problem that my mother has always encountered with other types of people from those type of communities, like where they are feeling a bit uncomfortable with their position. And I honestly had experiences like this before where, like, for example, I had a roommate who fit this description. She and her boyfriend fit this description. And, you know, they would feel, they felt really upset. It seemed like and angry and got more like, I guess, more, you could say, stereotypical, generalistic towards black people, maybe even hateful towards black people as, things progress, in a negative way, basically. So to me, I don't know, like I've always felt like it's hard to relate to them, one, because they're kind of like they're not just like black people who come from that community, because black people who come from that community don't always freak out when black people don't come from that community because they know, you know. But those type of people always act like, oh, somewhere, somehow, deep down, you are the same as them. And then when they realize it's not there, it's never been there, not been my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, so forth, they feel a little uncomfortable about that, you know. And then they feel a little insecure about it because I don't know, maybe they're putting a value on the type of community they come from as opposed to the kind of community I came from. Um, but on top of it, it's just like, it's just, I feel like, on top of not being able to relate and not really being understood by them, even being less understood by them than, say, black people from those communities, it's like on top of it, it can be a problematic situation because they have that kind of like racialized stereotypes going on there against black people. So then there's kind of like an anger element to it as well. So I hope I'm explaining this well enough. Yeah, from my perspective, I've never been attracted to anyone who was like a white person, well, like, um, basically, oh, white person that's basically grown up and been around mostly black people most of their lives. I've never really been attracted to people like that. And when I say that as like far as friendship with white women, white men, being attracted to them, I can be physically attracted to them, but it's always like it's never gonna really work out because we're just different types of people. It's hard to come together when you're different types of people, you know? thankfully, most white people aren't that way. So, I mean, like, it's perfect, you know? Um, I have experienced maybe one time where, I found the person attractive, but it was just like it would never go anywhere. It's like the same thing with like mixed men for that matter. It's not just white men and white women, but also mixed men. For example, if they're not raised in the same like background, like a more middle class, mostly white environment that you grew up around in like in Midwest or Southwest, not really mid Southwest, honestly. Well, I spent my teen years in the West, so I guess that counts. I'm not really sure, but um, yeah, to me, it's just like I tend to relate more with people who I guess just are more similar to me when it comes to like Hispanic men, mixed men, white men, doesn't really matter the race. But when it comes to this kind of thing, people are calling like, white people who are well like associated with the black community. I just don't really relate to that well. I mean, it's never really been much of my interest. So that's all I have to say on this video. I do find like it's not just attraction, like I said, just interacting with them can be hard too, because like I said, they come with a bit of stereotypical opinion on black people sometimes. And as a black person who doesn't fit the stereotype and the narrative they're looking for, it's like, oh, well, one, you don't know a thing about me, you don't understand me or anything of that nature, so I don't know. It's just like kind of a repellent when you're just basically assuming I'm all these things, and you haven't even gotten to know me to understand who I am truly. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening. Bye.